South Africa's ruling African National Congress, or ANC, has elected Cyril Ramaphosa, the country's deputy president, as its new leader. The result came after a fierce race when the ANC's 4,700 delegates voted by a margin of some 180 ballots for Ramaphosa against his main rival, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, a veteran politician, also ex-wife of President Jacob Zuma. As the protege of Nelson Mandela, Ramaphosa had pushed unsuccessfully to name himself as Mandela's successor in the late 1990s. After a long wait, is he now ready to lead the ANC amid the party's sagging popularity? How will the China-South Africa relationship be affected? Welcome to this special program co-produced by CGTN and the South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC. I'm Leanne from CGTN, and I'm joined from Johannesburg by my co-host, Leanne. Leanne, it's great to see you again. Now the stage is yours.
Lucian, thank you very, very much. What an absolute pleasure to be with you once again on this special broadcast. And what a special and momentous occasion it is for us here in South Africa, as the ruling party, the African National Congress, has now elected its new leader. It's been a rather tense and long counting procedure that started on Saturday, and it resulted in the results being announced last night. Well, and that wasn't without delays, of course, because many people were waiting for this result. It's been a very long contestation for the heart of the ANC, but those results were announced, and this is how it all unfolded.
It was a much-anticipated announcement, putting an end to the bitter campaigning by the rival factions.
We declare Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa as the new president of the African National Congress.
While Cyril Ramaphosa enjoyed support from a greater number of branches as compared to Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the voting patterns varied from one position to another. The inclusion of Lindiwe Sisulu on Ramaphosa's slate did not bring in numbers.
Comrade David Mabuza is the new deputy president of the African National Congress. Perhaps
the biggest beneficiary is the man who had styled himself as representing unity, Mpumalanga Chair David Mabuza. He refused to publicly endorse anyone despite being linked to Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, a move that has worked in his favor.
Comrade Ace Mahashule at 2360 votes. Comrade Senzo Mkunu 2336 votes.
Another surprise, the emergence of Free State Premier Ace Mahashule as Secretary General against Senzo Mkunu, who enjoyed a significant number of nominations ahead of the conference.
Comrade Jesse Duarte, 2474 votes.
Jesse Duarte will now serve a second term as Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, while Kwede Mandashe will take over the chairpersonship. Gauteng Chair Paul Mashatile has been elected as the new Treasurer General. With two competing slates now equally represented in the top six, all eyes are on the composition of the National Executive Committee. SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, we are coming to you live from Johannesburg, South Africa, and this is a very special dual broadcast between CGTN and the SABC. Thank you very, very much for tuning in and watching us. Well, to know a little bit more about the new leader of the ANC, he has come a very, very long way and has been somewhat of a protege to the former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. The two of them spent time together in Robben Island, a prison that was for political prisoners during the apartheid years. They came out together and all had political ambitions. But it was at that time where Cyril Ramaphosa left politics and moved into business. He then, of course, has come full circle and is back in politics in a position that he has wanted for many, many years. Well, let's tell you a little bit more about the man at the helm of the ruling party.
Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa was born in Soweto, Johannesburg. He matriculated at Mapupudi High School in Sibasa Venda. He studied law at University of the North and upon completion received B.Proc degree from UNISA. As a student, he joined SASCO, the South African Student Organization, and the BPC, Black People's Convention. He was detained for his involvement in organizing pro-Frelimo Morales. He was held in solitary confinement for 11 months. He was detained again, held for 6 months. During this time, he began to question his role in the BPC, deciding that ideology of black consciousness had become full circle. It could take us no further. He joined the firm of attorneys as an article clerk. Ramaphosa completed a B.Proc at UNISA and joined the Council of Unions of South Africa as a legal advisor, and it was in this position until 1991 where CUSA advised him to establish the Union of Mine Workers. He was arrested and briefly detained under the now defunct Righteous Assemblies Act in Leboa. He left CUSA, helping to form the Congress of the South African Trade Unions, COSATU. Between 1985 and 1986, he helped organize 2 major countrywide noon strikes. He received the Olof Palme Prize in October 1987 in Stockholm, in an annual prize awarded for an outstanding achievement in the spirit of Olof Palme. He resigned from NUM as Secretary General. That same year, he was elected Secretary General of the ANC. When COSATU joined forces with the United Democratic Front against the PW Botha regime. When Nelson Mandela was released from prison, Ramaphosa was on the National Reception Committee.
Moving around the car.
He became Secretary General of the ANC from 1991 to 1994. In his capacity as a General Secretary, he became the head of the negotiations commissions of the ANC and participated in the Conference for Democratic South Africa, CODESA.
And also ensuring that you end up with a democratic result.
On May 24, Ramaphosa was elected chairperson of the Constitutional Assembly, member of parliament between 1994 and 96. After Thabo Mbeki was chosen as president to succeed Mandela, Ramaphosa decided to leave politics and enter the business world.
Comrade Ramaphosa will resign his position as a member of parliament once the constitution writing process is completed. His position as member of the National Executive Committee and Secretary General of the ANC remains unchanged. On behalf of the entire National Executive Committee of the ANC, I wish to take this opportunity to commend my comrade and colleague, Cyril Ramaphosa, for the important contribution he has made in building our organization, the ANC, in the nation-building effort, and in the broader task of reconstruction and development.
Well, there you go. That's just to give you a little bit of background about Cyril Ramaphosa and his journey through the ranks of the ANC, through business and to the position that he's in right now. Well, let's have a conversation now in studio here with our political analyst who's been with us and following and analyzing this throughout the entire period. And it really is a pleasure to be joined by our guest here. Welcome to SABC and CGTN's special broadcast. I think we've been speaking to so many people about this.
It's just been, and all of us have not been sleeping.
That goes without saying. And that's the reality, is that South Africa has been waiting. We've been hanging on. It has been something that we have all been waiting for. It's been a build-up of a very, very long time. How would you explain this to
It's a very important moment in the history of the country. The ANC is a colossal movement in the politics of this country. It is the biggest political machinery that we have, that the citizens of the country have available to them. So when the ANC meets every 5 years, it's a big issue, but none bigger than this year. In part because of the stakes are so high, because there has been feelings that the movement is losing its step, that its vision may be waning, and that there are a number of problems inside of it that needs to be fixed. The country's economy has been faltering over the past few years. Issues of corruption have become very prominent, and leadership issues have also been very prominent. So for all of these and more reasons, this particular elective conference, while it is an ANC conference, has in fact become a national conference. Yeah. South Africans have been staying awake, listening to radio, watching the news, and some of them broke out into celebrations in the streets yesterday evening.
Would you say that Cyril Ramaphosa was the popular choice by the people? Because I think what people need to understand, and those in China that are watching us, it's not the people of South Africa that vote for the president. It is the party that votes for their president, which, if they won the upcoming elections, automatically becomes the president of South Africa. So amongst the people of South Africa, would you think he was the favorite?
Well, I know that some polls were done by some pollsters have researched this, and they did find that overall he was a popular person across the board. Many South Africans, in fact, across all groups in the country, he was found to be a popular choice. I think that there's a lot of goodwill that South Africans have for him. I think he will enjoy in the next few days, maybe a month or two, a lot of goodwill from a broad spectrum of South Africans. The question, of course, is whether he uses that window to confirm their good feeling about him. There's a good feeling about him. We even saw the markets responding positively to him. I think people recognize that he probably is the person with the best possible chance of saving the movement, and hopefully if the movement can be saved, so can the country. I think that's the logic of the good feeling towards him.
Yeah, you know, we've obviously at the moment showing the different positions and of the ANC, who is contesting and who won. This, of course, is also a question of debate right now, because as we sit here now, although the results have already been released, there's talk of perhaps a recount happening, because there might be appeals and there might be contestations for certain positions. So do you think the face of this will change much, or is it really just procedural?
I doubt very much. I doubt very much if it will change. The pity of it all is that now there's going to be a recount after the announcement. Yeah. I believe there were recounts yesterday already, and those were fine because they happened before the announcement. This one that comes after the announcement is a bit risky. It could change one or two positions perhaps, but I think the ANC is very careful, has been throughout this conference, in making sure that they manage the process as well as they humanly can, in order to minimize the possibility of splits on the one hand, but also to minimize the possibility of court cases on the other. Because we have, in some ways, some provinces have been transported to the national conference via the route of court cases, and I think there is a bit of fatigue about that, and people want to try and get out of it.
All right, we'll leave it there. Professor, thank you very much for talking to us. Professor Tinyiko Maluleke, talking to us in his capacity as a political analyst and somebody who follows the politics of South Africa very, very closely, and particularly when it comes to the ruling ANC. So very interesting times here in South Africa, and it's a developing story that no doubt you in China are following too, and we're just hoping that the relations between the two countries continues and flourishes the way it has already. Lucien, I hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, Leanne, for all those background information and very interesting analysis. Indeed, the people here have been watching very closely the situation, the development in South Africa, as it is a very important country in Africa and also a very important partner in China under multilateral cooperation framework, for instance, under the BRICS. So to help people understand the Chinese take on the development, I have in the studio Dr. Wu Chuanhua from the Institute Institute of West Asia and Africa Studies at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. Dr. Wu, thank you very much for joining us. Now, in the eventuality that the results is final, that there is no question about any voting irregularity, it looks like Ramaphosa is very likely to be the next leader of the ANC. What does this mean for China's relationship with South Africa?
Yes, China and South Africa has enjoyed a very good relationship for many years. China has supported the anti-apartheid struggle for ANC, and after the establishment of formally diplomatic relations, the relation between two countries has developed very well in many aspects, and China and South Africa are trade partners to each other. So I think this is with the new leadership of ANC, the bilateral relations will continue to development.
What is the attitude of Mr. Ramaphosa towards China? Do we know much about it?
Yes, Ramaphosa is an anti-fighter, a senior politician. Because you know that just as I said, China supported the anti-apartheid struggle of South Africa. This is a very good beginning between the relationship between two countries, two parties, and even between Ramaphosa himself with the Chinese leaders. He has visited China many times, and I remember last time he met with Chinese Premier Li Keqiang. So the two parties, two countries will develop a very good relations.
In terms of economy, what kind of opportunities are there to be explored if Mr. Ramaphosa becomes the next president of South Africa?
Yeah, I think economy is critical for ANC and for South Africa. It is first priority for President Ramaphosa. I think two major factors are important. One is how to make the cake of economy big and large.
The cake,
the large to the agriculture, mineral sector, manufacture, and service sectors are all very important for South Africa, and we can help each other in these four areas. And the second key question is that how to distribute the cake among South Africa, among the people. That is to make the balance between different regions, between the city and the countryside, and especially to reduce the disparity between the poor people and poor people and the rich people. So this many
and also maybe between black people and white people.
Yeah, this is very, very important. Even the first important to make the balance and try to reduce the gap between the white people and the black people. So the two parties, I mean the Communist Party of China and the ANC, can exchange their ideas in these aspects.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wu, and you have been watching The Point with me, Leanne. I'll be back right after this short break. Dr. Wu, from the economic perspective, there's a very important question. We know the economy of South Africa has really not done well. Poverty is growing, unemployment 28%, and yet South Africa is a very important partner for China under the BRICS mechanism. How do you look at the prospects of South Africa remaining to be one of the pillars of this BRICS system?
Some people hold the viewpoint that South Africa, the economy of South Africa is growing slowly and it is diminishing. So some people have the viewpoint that maybe South Africa is not
important anymore economically.
Yes, but I don't think so. The economy of South Africa is only one aspect. We should look at this question comprehensively. South Africa is a very important role in both Africa and the world. So it is still plays a leading role in Africa and an important role in BRICS.
But a very important question is, even if South Africa will continue to play a very important role under the BRICS, it is vital for that party to be able to shore up the support which has been sagging over the past few years, right? As we have seen, the popularity has been decreasing for the ANC. So they have a very big challenge. From the Chinese observation, what is the biggest challenge you think the ANC is faced with, and it has to, and Mr. Ramaphosa has to take on right now?
The first is economy. Economy is critical. We know that in recent years, from 2014, 2015, 2016, the economic growth rate is declining 1.5%, 1.3%, and 0.3%. So this is a very serious problem, for a very serious question.
What can China do? What can the CPC do to help South Africa, come out of this crisis?
These areas, agriculture, mineral sector, manufacturers, and sector services, China will put more investment to South Africa. Of course, it also depends on the investment policy of ANC, of new President Ramaphosa. This is one very important. And also, trade partners, we try to upgrade the level of the bilateral trade between our two countries. Not only the quantity, but also the quality. This is very important.
Right. Well, in terms of the challenges that the party is faced with, corruption, the scandals that have been surrounding the leader of the party, President Zuma, the CPC itself has also suffered similar problem in the past, because it is one party ruling the country for a long period of time. It has this critical task of self-examination and self-purification. Does the ANC also have similar challenges?
Very serious challenge. I mean, the corruption. Corruption is very serious in ANC, and also it is destroying the credibility, accountability, and even the ruling base of ANC. The people hate this and are disappointed with ANC. So anti-corruption is also a very, very important slogan for the election of President Ramaphosa. Yes, and so this is also very important for the development of ANC and also the South Africa, because it is the ruling party. In this aspect, the Communist Party of China and the ANC can learn each other to.
Are there some kind of
corruption?
Are there some cooperation going on between the two parties to, as you said, they can learn from each other? Have they been sharing experience in this regard?
Yes, because the two parties has also enjoyed very good relations, and we learn each other in many aspects. One is anti-corruption is one of them.
What do you think of the kind of promises that the ANC has been putting out? For instance, during his campaign, Mr. Ramaphosa repeatedly stated the goal of making South Africa great, the goal of making South Africa corruption-free and getting rid of greedy people, corrupt people within our ranks. And yet, he basically comes from the same camp, right? He has been a veteran member of the ANC. Do you think from him these changes can come from?
To say is one thing, to do is another thing. Of course, Ramaphosa will try his best to make his promise. to realize. I think politically he will aim at to keep the ruling party position of ANC, and economically try to develop the economy and to save the economy of South Africa. And also inside the ANC, the problem of corruption, just as we talked. And another question is the factionalism, also endanger the ruling party. This must be taken seriously.
We have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Wu Chuanhua from the Institute of West Asia and Africa Studies at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. And here is my last point. No matter who the new leader is, South Africa is facing major challenges ahead. The struggling economy, record high unemployment, and a widening gap between the very rich and the very poor, and growing poverty. Who can solve the issues that matter most to the South African people will be the ultimate question, and eyes are all on Mr. Ramaphosa as he is elected new leader of the ANC. And with that, we come to the end of this special coverage by CGTN and the South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC. Download the application called CGTN to watch our show on your mobile devices, or go to YouTube and look for CGTN The Point. Thanks for watching. You've got the point.